All right, Tom Foreman, many thanks. As I've said many times before, I am hopelessly addicted to facts. So I want to lay a few facts on you before we begin a discussion over this. $500 million in federal funds goes to Planned Parenthood. None of that money, none of it pays for abortions. That's been banned by law since 1976. Planned Parenthood says only 3% of their services are dedicated to abortion. The group says 97% of its services are for things like breast exams, gynecological services including pap smears and pelvic exams, cancer screenings and contraception. All of these things provided for many women who cannot afford care. So let's talk about what's happening in Congress right now. Journalist and editor-in-chief of Anousheh'sPoint.com, Anousheh Hussain, joins me now. I'm also joined by Senior Fellow of the Independent Women's Forum, Julie Gunlock. Welcome to both of you. I appreciate your being here.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Julie, so first question to you. Don't you want to hear from the people who made those videos?
Sure, and I think there's time for that. But I think Congress has an obligation to ensure that taxpayer dollars are being used smartly and ethically and legally. So that seems the more pressing issue for Congress. This is not a small amount of money. You mentioned $500 million. And that's going to an organization that might be performing some illegal activities. So I think Congress really owes the taxpayers some investigation into that. And I certainly think stopping funding until that investigation is complete is acceptable.
Okay, so Anousheh, so doesn't Congress want to know if what's on that tape is accurate and true and where it happened? And don't they want to track down the people allegedly responsible for selling these baby parts?
Exactly, Carol. I completely agree with you. You know, just as you were showing earlier, despite the fact that 97% of Planned Parenthood's services don't have anything to do with abortion, this organization has really become the kind of defining symbol of the politics of women's health and the domestic war over abortion in this country. Recent polls even show that despite this calculated smear campaign. I mean, this is a part of a much larger campaign to really bring down Planned Parenthood and ban abortion in this country. Despite that, the majority of Americans still believe that the government should be funding Planned Parenthood, and they support this. So we really need to talk about what this is really about, which is the larger war, domestic war on abortion.
And Julie, I'll just lay this by you to see what you think about this. There have been many state investigations of Planned Parenthood separate from the federal government.
Sure.
There have been investigations of Planned Parenthood in Indiana, Missouri, and Massachusetts. No wrongdoing whatsoever has been uncovered. Are you surprised by that?
Well, I haven't examined each of those investigations, but again, this is the federal government's responsibility to ensure that American taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely. Don't forget, if a contractor with the Department of Defense or a healthcare provider with HHS or a contractor with the Department of Education, if there were charges or videos showing illegal behavior, the money would be cut. There'd be no question. We need to separate this issue from the very emotional issue of abortion. This is an organization that is potentially misusing American taxpayer dollars. Congress is mandated to look into this. So I don't think it's that unusual. I understand that it's a really highly charged issue, but it's absolutely within the rights of Congress to look into this.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Julie. I want to take the emotion out of it. And the only way you can, I just don't understand why they wouldn't want to investigate the tape and its accuracy before they go on to defund Planned Parenthood.
But I think what's important is that that Planned Parenthood has admitted that it does this, and so
it's legal. It's legal to do it.
But we need. Well, I think that's a question that they're going to examine.
Exactly.
But
shouldn't they want the people who made the tape and?
No, Carol, they don't want to see the people who made the tape because this is political theater. This is Republican political deja vu, and it's becoming ridiculous theater. They are obsessed with this organization. And I mean, we were here last year. We were here the year before. Once again, they're threatening to hold the Congress hostage over this issue, shut down the government. I mean, this is not about these doctored tapes that have been proved to be false. And it's, you know, this is...
Okay,
Go
Julie,
ahead,
last
these are
word, then I got to
conflicting
go.
attacks.
Julie, last word, I got to go.
There are plenty of other organizations, community health centers and women's health centers that can provide the services that Planned Parenthood provides. And there can be private funding for Planned Parenthood, but in particular some of the Hollywood stars that are so concerned about this issue. So I see nothing wrong with the idea of shifting the funding to community health centers and taking it away from Planned Parenthood until the investigation is complete. I think the American public and the American taxpayers deserve that.
All right, I got to leave it there. Joy Gunlock, Anousheh Hossain, thanks to both of you for being here. I appreciate it. Still to come in the newsroom, first they were on the world stage. Oh, actually, I got to show these pictures. There's Raul Castro at the United Nations. He's going to be with President Obama. We'll take you back to the United Nations next.